So I was one of the people who had no idea what they wanted to do this speech over at all. And I was thinking about doing it over passion, but I was like, I can't even think of one. And on top of that, I just be rambling like the entire time. So after contemplating for a few weeks, I was thinking about something that's greatly impacted my life. So I was thinking, what makes me the childish, annoying, and somewhat creative person that I am today? And that's my childhood. Many people don't really give our adolescence years that much credit, even though more adults may seem as an extension of their teenage life. But honestly, our childhood roots are where everything came from in the first place. During these past few weeks, I looked into my childhood and I realized how essential of a time that was for me. How I cope with uncomfortable situations, deal with stress, they all tie back to when I was a kid. Even though I thought I had learned these traits on my ongoing transition as a teenager, they've honestly been with me since I was young. Only now they're translated into real life situations. Stress is something that everybody in this room here deals with and probably won't ever stop dealing with ever. But when I was 7, I was completely stress-free, and there wasn't anything that anyone could do to me that ever made me mad. Even the little details in life, they were the biggest impacts on me. Like, for example, me watching cartoons at night while it's raining outside. That was one of the most relaxing things I've ever done when I was a kid. So translated that into now, it still is for some reason. And because of that, I don't let stress ever consume me. Because the nostalgia of how relaxed my childhood was usually always triggers a detox. It also helps me not really take anything for granted, and I always find the remembrance in little things like how the sky looked or someone's annoying laugh. Also, seeing art as a kid was something that was very enjoyable for me for some reason, and it still is today. And I've realized that this is actually amazing for me because every time I'm stressed out or annoyed at someone, all I have to do is look at a picture of something instead of switching my whole mindset. And from that point on, it made it completely clear on how big of an influence my childhood was on me. My constant thoughts and ideas are a recurring trait of mine as a kid. They all started when my older brother Lewis, he came to my room when I was around 8. He was probably a junior at the time, and he read to me a pre-cal book, and I was 8. And literally, this was the first time that I've ever completely zoned out of a conversation, and all I started to do was contemplate. My first thought was, I need to do something, and my second thought was, what do I need to do? For the next 9 years straight, these two thoughts have been in my head 24/7 and have been revolving around my life. And I'm extremely thankful of that moment I had with my brother because now I barely have any dull moments or any boring times because I know that all I have to do is just think about a situation and be patient and contemplate, and the answer will always come to me. And even though I love sleeping days at a time, I always find myself learning random new things like a culture's religion or just something to do with space just for no reason. This also helps me take chances all the time throughout my days instead of just sit down and do nothing. And also, when I'm in a huge predicament, contemplating always helps me to see the easiest way to deal with the problem. A major pro of mine today that was a major con of me as a kid was my stubbornness. As a child, being stubborn was one of the worst things that you could be. My whole family thought I was a spoiled brat, which I was. And pretty much summing up my whole stubbornness, it was pretty much just me saying no the whole time or arguing when someone said I couldn't do something. In my case, it'd pretty much be my mom just yelling at me saying, don't touch this, don't do that, or don't break this, and me either whining or just saying okay and then doing what she told me not to do. Thankfully, it hasn't translated the same way to me to the present, but the point that I got from that was that if anyone doubted that I couldn't do something, I'd have to try to prove them wrong. And a huge benefit at the time of me growing up was me telling my mom all these crazy ideas and goals that I'd have for myself. And she'd usually just laugh them off or just joke around thinking that I wouldn't be able to accomplish them. But she'd always be extremely surprised when she'd see that I'd always be stuck on whatever I told her I was going to set out to do, even when she thought I'd stop believing I could. This negative trait, stubbornness, that I inherited as an 8-year-old turned out to be the main factor that self-motivates me to do whatever I want to today. It also helps me take harsh words and criticism much less serious, and it's really hard to make me actually mad because I know that from my childhood that words shouldn't be allowed to affect my personality and abilities. Also, this makes me twice as easier for me to be myself and essentially to never care about opinions that don't ever benefit me. And I want to end it off by saying, I believe everyone here can benefit from linking with their child self instead of fighting from it. In a world filled with responsibilities, priorities, and stress, and much more, being a child is going to be something that we all are going to miss one day. Thank you.